Michelle Bradley from REC, and here's your mid-June update on activity that has taken place in the groups of mutually exclusive applications filed during the 2023 Third Generation Low-Power FM Filing Window. After we go through all the MX groups, I will address a frequent question that I have been receiving. When will the FCC issue the points public notice and open the 90-day settlement window? Stay tuned for that. Once again, remember that predictions are based solely on potential default outcomes based on information that's already on the record, as well as potential challenges that can be filed based on that information. The FCC is not bound to adhere to these predictions, and they will make their own judgments based on federal regulations and past case law. As always, use these predictions at your own risk. Here we go. Let's start off in Arizona with MX Group number 7. In April, Ministerio's El Rey de Gloria was dismissed for violation of the U.S.-Mexico International Agreement because the 34 dBu interfering contour of the proposed facility exceeded 32 kilometers in the direction of Mexico. This was because they used a non-directional antenna from a very high elevation site. This is not a short spacing defect that falls under 73.870C of the rules, and therefore they can amend their application to cure the defect. On May 20th, Ministerios did amend their application to specify a directional antenna with a rotation of 90 degrees, which substantially limits the signal going towards the south, and as a result means that the application once again is compliant with the Mexico agreement. While the amendment has been filed, the audio division staff has yet to make a decision on this amendment to determine whether the amendment is acceptable. Just on the basis of meeting the Mexican agreement, staff should reinstate the application. However, there are still two issues of concern here. First, REC is concerned about the board makeup of Ministerios, which brings up the bigger issue of using weighted boards in order to circumvent the alien ownership rule. Ministerios' board consists of 7 persons, of which 3 are disclosed as Mexican citizens. Of these 3 persons, 1 has 10% of the vote and 2 have 5% of the votes, with the remaining 80% split between the 4 board members that are U.S. citizens. The practice of using weighted boards without any backing bylaws that permit such boards is concerning. This one is more concerning because it raises an issue of alien ownership. Without a complete review by the FCC, ownership is limited to 20% alien ownership. In the case of nonprofits, the nonprofit has 100% of the assets, while only 20% of the votes are alien. Nearly 43% of the physical persons on the board are alien. In the past, the FCC has granted applications in this situation, but such structures have never been called out. This application, if declared a tentative selectee, could be ripe for a challenge. The second concern, which applies to both applications in this MX group, regards the height above average terrain of both facilities. 73.811A states that no facility shall be granted for less than 1 watt, and no facility will be authorized in excess of 1 watt at 450 meters height above average terrain. Both applicants with the minimum 1 watt would have service contours of 6.3 kilometers, where the standard 100 watt LPFM would be 5.6 kilometers. This would mean that both applicants would have around the equivalent of 160 watt LPFM stations. We'll see how the FCC handles this one. If neither of these issues are raised, we predict Ministerios will be reinstated and will win the MX group with pledges 5 points to 3. California MX Group 14 Marina Foundation amends to add Secretary of State documentation to support their eligibility. This further justifies our 1-point predicted adjustment for established community presence. We still predict that Marina will be adjusted to 4 points for failing to include appropriate documents at the time of filing. We also predict that Beat Poet broadcasters will be adjusted to 4 points solely based on their established community presence date on the application. Both applicants have no viable channels to move to from their current site, and this MX group is currently predicted to default to 12-hour involuntary timeshare, with Beat Poet probably having choice of time slots since they were the only ones to include a verifiable document at the time of the original filing. Let's move to Southern California and MX Group 18. This is for 2 applicants in San Clemente, the southernmost part of Orange County. Calvary South OC submitted a proper withdrawal of their application with the proper disclosure that there was no consideration in connection with their request to back out. This would leave Worship Life Calvary Chapel as the remaining applicant. But then, without any withdrawal filed, there was a dismissal of the Worship Life application. On public notice, the Media Bureau stated that the application is in violation of the U.S.-Mexico agreement because the 60 dBu contour exceeds 8.7 kilometers in the direction of Mexico. They based their finding on a minimum effective radiated power of 16 watts. REC has evaluated the situation and have made the determination that the application is curable. Like with Mount Lemmon, Mexico violations like this can be cured. We have provided the details of our findings to the consultant involved. REC predicts reinstatement of this application and Worship Life Calvary Chapel being the winner of this MX group as a singleton. Roswell, Georgia, MX Group 36. As we reported last month, Casa de Dios Atlanta filed to move further away from CPC of the WMM to create 2 singletons. Both applications were accepted for filing. On May 23rd, Triangle Access Broadcasting filed an informal objection against CASA, addressing the localism concerns that we raised in last month's episode. REC had noted other issues regarding the weighted board, alien ownership, and inconsistent information in the parties to the application. We still predict a dismissal for Casa de Dios Atlanta, and since staff has been granting other CPC applications, we predict that their application will be granted. Springfield, Massachusetts, MX Group 47, one of the 2 largest MX groups in this window. Westfield Evangelical amended their application to include Secretary of State documentation. In addition, East Hampton Community Radio, a Wade Rathke application, amended to clarify their parties to the application. We still predict established community presence point adjustments for Westfield Evangelical, Slavic Baptist Church, and Iglesia Cristiana Jehovah Vive. East Hampton and Holyoke Community College are only claiming organic 4 points. We predict that while there may be 4 or 5 tentative selectees from this group, challenges by above the rim against some of the other applicants will prevail, leaving only above the rim and the city of Westfield as 5-point applicants. There's not too many choices for alternate channels in this area. If no amendments are filed by either Westfield City or Above the Rim, we predict a 2-applicant 12-hour involuntary timeshare with City of Westfield having time slot choice. MX Group 51 down the road from Riverton in Berlin, Maryland. Faith Baptist Church amends their application to include the proper Secretary of State documents. Due to the lack of documents on their original filing, we have already predicted that they will lose their established community presence point, thus giving We Heart Berlin the advantage. We previously stated that Faith Baptist Church does have alternative channels to go to. As long as that amendment is made after the release of the point public notice, we predict that both applicants will be granted as singletons. Southeast Pennsylvania MX Group 61, Radio Fila, filed an amendment to update their Secretary of State documents. Radio Fila is already an organic 4-point applicant, so we're predicting no point adjustments. This MX group still has a lot of moving parts right now, and there may be enough to dismiss the Core Link application, but we're going to stay with a 3-way, 8-hour involuntary timeshare as the default. This may require the filing of challenges to reach this point. Finally, we go to MX Group 71, also in Pennsylvania. Family of Christian Churches has filed an amendment to move 7.8 kilometers to move further away from Mount Zion Baptist Church. Both applicants have been accepted for filing as singletons, and we predict grants on both applications. Let's take a look at the current counts from the 2023 LPFM filing window. As of June 14, 2024, we have had 590 grants, including 38 grants from this time last month. All but 6 applications in the pending column are mutually exclusive applicants. The FCC is already 70% through the processing of these applications, and so far has granted nearly 2/3 of the applications that it had already encountered. 14 LPFM stations have been fully constructed and fully licensed. The big question that I'm receiving right now is, when is the FCC going to announce the points and move to the next part of the MX process? There's a lot of work that goes into the process of releasing the public notice for a particular MX group. Because point system decisions are considered hearings, they have to be voted on by the 5 FCC commissioners. The Media Bureau will still determine the mutually exclusive applicants, do all the research, and propose scores for each applicant in the group. This information is then prepared by the Bureau and then circulated to the commissioners, who will need to vote on the adoption of the points public notice. Once the full commission adopts the notice, then it will be released to the public, and the 90-day settlement period for those applicants will take place. During the settlement window, applicants with the highest score will be able to reach timeshare agreements with other lead score applicants and be able to aggregate those points to win their group. Applicants can also make major modifications to any qualified location and channel as long as the localism rules are still met. This will also be the time to file challenges such as informal objections and petitions to deny against any applicant that has been declared a tentative selectee, which are those with the lead score. After the 2013 LPFM filing window, it took about 5 months from the time after the first 60-day settlement window closed to the release of the first of 3 points public notices. For the 2023 window, the 60-day first settlement period ended on May 14, 2024. In 2013, there were over 300 groups of mutually exclusive applications, and the points public notice was split up into 3 notices, each covering different portions of the country. In contrast, the 2023 filing window started with 109 MX groups, and we are currently at less than 100 groups remaining. This may mean that the Media Bureau could release 2 public notices or release everything on a single notice. Because there are fewer MX groups that staff has to work with, it is possible that the delay will be shorter than 5 months as in the last window. We could see a points notice as soon as late July, but patience is the key here. The Media Bureau staff is very busy and works on many other services in addition to LPFM. One way to know when a points notice may soon be coming out is to watch the monthly Commission open meeting agendas. You will find these at fcc.today on the day that the agenda is released. Look for an item called a restricted adjudicatory matter from the Media Bureau. Now, this is an all-purpose item which is used for various things, but point hearings for LPFM and full-service non-commercial FM are included in this type of agenda item. For point hearings, I have yet to see the FCC actually do this during the open meeting itself. Normally, this is voted on before the meeting and then removed from the agenda. So you'll have to keep a watch on fcc.today for the release of the notice. It will also appear a day or two later in the FCC Daily Digest. It will also appear on the REC Filing Window tracking tool. Please allow a day or few for the Filing Window tracker tool to be updated to reflect the groups as having a point notice on it. This is a bit of manual work on our side, and it does take us a bit of time to get all that information in there. Well, that's all we have for right now. We'll be back in about a month with another update unless breaking news happens before then. For assistance with LPFM as well as any other FM broadcast service, please contact me at 202-621-2355 or by email at lpfm@recnet.com. I'm Michelle Bradley, SBE Certified Broadcast Technologist. Thank you for watching.